Top 5 Stanford candidates. I feel like I have to do these pretty fast because these things come at you fast. So you never know. I mean, by this weekend, there's going to be several of these jobs already filled. But number 5, Mike Bloomgren, head coach at Rice. They're 5-7, but Stanford's fortunes under David Shaw took a hit when Mike Bloomgren left to go to Rice. He was our offensive coordinator that was kind of leading all that. People, obviously Rice and Stanford are, similar academically, and that you have to have, smart guys to be there for sure, and guys with high GPAs. So this is one that's kind of floated out there, even though, he hasn't really done much at Rice. They're I guess they're knocking on the door. They could get in a bowl game this year because of the APY, right?
Oh, yeah, because the AP, they didn't earn it. No, they're the top of the – what is that you just referred to?
The APY.
Yeah, they're at top of that, so they would be like the first option, I think, yeah.
Yeah, so they could, but, I don't think this is probably where they're going to go, but if he does get fired, he might wind up being the offensive coordinator if he's any connection to the new coach.
I mean, that's the thing is, he makes sense. He, has history, but Rice desperately doesn't – I mean – I'll go off Taylor McCarr. Taylor McCarr doesn't want in there anymore.
Yeah.
Like, they're done. Like, the people who support Rice and are, like, fans of Rice, they seem to be pretty fed up and, like, want a change. But because he's, like, hovering as, like, a bowl-ish type team, it's giving him some leeway. If you remember when we had Taylor on, I was like, hey, man, it was, like, 3 weeks to go in the season. It's like, oh, man, they could make a bowl game. And he's like, yeah. Like, it's like that feeling. So, I mean – if he's bringing that kind of lack of momentum, then stay the heck away, Stanford. But if he can, like, maybe just get out of Houston and get some of the mojo back, then yeah, he obviously makes sense for the reasons he mentioned.
Yeah. Number 4, Troy Taylor at the FCS level at Sacramento State, doing a great job. He's a Cal grad, though, and there's a lot of people who think that, a lot of Stanford people wouldn't care, but he's winning at that level, and, this is probably the dark horse candidate there, or the one that's the furthest outside the box, but he's winning, and he's going to get a Power 5 job here soon. He's going to be the next guy, Chris Kleiman or Kalen DeBoer or somebody like that. Oh, I guess Kalen DeBoer was at Fresno State, but, someone like that who kind of makes that jump. Lance Leipold that went to Buffalo, something like that. But Troy Taylor, Sacramento State, don't know as much about him, but everywhere I look, people seem to bring him up, and he's a Cal guy, Northern California guy through and through, so he could certainly be a possibility.
Yeah, the term I was trying to think of with Rice, APR, is what allows you to get into a bowl game. Rice has one of the, if not the highest APR, so with 5 wins, they can go to a bowl. That's what I was trying to think of. Yeah, I don't know much about Troy Taylor. I've heard a bit here and there about Sacramento State and their successes, and you outlined some reasons why he's got some connections. So, sure, yeah, I don't know much about him, though. Would have to dig a little bit more.
Yeah. Number 3, Michigan offensive coordinator Sherrone Moore. This is kind of in the idea of let's get back to Harbaugh. Let's get back to Harbaugh's system. This is a guy who runs Harbaugh's system. And again, Michigan assistants are going to be well sought after pretty much every year now, as long as they keep winning. Look, Josh Gaddis just, he's gotten big money as an offensive coordinator. All these different guys have moved around. But Sherrone Moore certainly one that bears considering because, again, to get back to where they were under Harbaugh, which is consistently winning 8, 9, 10 games and finishing in the top 15, several top 10 finishes, and then on into David Shaw, they maybe want that kind of attitude back. But David Shaw, also a Harbaugh disciple.
Yeah, maybe they want to go a different direction. I think that's the biggest question is, what does Stanford really want to do? I mean, who do they want to be, and what is the trajectory of the program? Is this a Cal situation where you don't even know if they really care that much about football in the long run? Like, what is life in the new Pac-12 like? But, yeah, I mean, if everything's equal, just like it always kind of has been, certainly he would provide some insight based on being a branch of the Harbaugh tree and kind of knowing how the ins and outs of that work. And that would be to his benefit, I would imagine. So certainly, like you said, Michigan's staff is going to start getting picked off left and right. And he's one of the names that you hear quite a bit about guys that could, potentially make a jump up. So sure, yeah, there's enough familiarity there to give him a good enough idea, and obviously enough on his resume to make him an intriguing candidate for Stanford to look at.
Yeah. Number 2, Dave Clawson from Wake Forest runs they have a fun offense. They have a fun style. This would be a change. Certainly, don't know, if he's got a really good gig at Wake Forest. I mean, he can be there forever, and nobody's going to mess with him because he's taken the program to new heights. But if he is looking for something different, Stanford's a really good fit for him, for his style. Look, Wake Forest is a good school, all these different things. Now, Stanford's a different level of good school, but I do think that the style of football that he brings from Wake Forest would be kind of fun and maybe reinvigorate the fan bases. They might have kind of gotten tired of 3 yards in a cloud of dust, which is what they've been for a little bit here.
Yeah, I mean, that's a big move, going from North Carolina all the way across the country, which is not, impeding him from being able to do that, but he's closing in on nearly a decade at Wake Forest at this point, which I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing as far as he's concerned with that job, but he's pretty settled in at this point, and they're, having some success here and there, so that'd be kind of surprising to see him. I just think that the Pac-12 uncertainty is what really, especially Stanford and Cal, that's really – what you've got in Wake Forest right now. What do you have in Stanford, I think is the big question. So, yeah, I would be surprised to see him, lift up roots and roots that have been growing now for a while, especially with them having some successes, like I said, this year. But who knows?
He is from Massachusetts, born in New York. This is where he's coached, Paul. Georgia, Buffalo, Lehigh, Villanova, Fordham, Richmond, Tennessee. That's as far west as he's been. Bowling Green, maybe, and then Wake Forest. So he seems to be entrenched over there. But, again, a guy that's at a private school and someone that has had success.
Hey, man, if you're, you're nearing retirement age and you say, what the hey, I'm going to go live in the Bay Area and close up. I mean, maybe that's in his head, but that would be a big departure from what he's been known for.
Number 1, Bronco Mendenhall was at BYU, which has very special circumstances when it comes to, their roster and the mission and all the mission trips that guys go on and obviously, the religious affiliation there. Stanford, no religious affiliation, but it's a special circumstance of school, and that everybody that you recruit essentially has to be a 4.0 kid. Was at Virginia, another good high academic school, seems to want to get back into coaching. I think Stanford is a really good fit for him, if he wants to do that, because he can navigate both those things. But again, he stepped away voluntarily a couple years ago. So does he really want to get back in, and does he want to get back in at Stanford, which has a lot of challenges? The big thing going around Stanford right now is Stanford hates fun. They're coming out on students for a lot of things. So all of those things he's going to have to navigate, because Stanford's going to have to hire somebody, again, who's going to make it fun to be, at the football games. And right now, they suspended the tree, all these different things have happened at Stanford that they need to certainly lighten up a little bit.
I think he's dealt with unique circumstances, but I do think that the religious part of being at BYU versus, the academic standard is a bit of a different type of outside thing. But to say that he's had to battle things that maybe others at other schools haven't had to battle, yeah, certainly. I think just the fact that he's been out west makes people believe that I know Colorado's been thrown around with him. So yeah, if he's in it to win it as a coach and full bore and wanting to be out west, then Stanford will make a sense from that standpoint. I just think for all these guys on the list, and I do think there are probably some that are probably not very much of a chance, but again, I need to know what the heck Stanford wants to be. You're talking about, it's the no fun place. The future of the conference is in doubt. The academic standards are exceptionally high. Who wants that job? Mm-hmm. Who wants to go deal with all of that right now? That's what I'm curious. And I don't know that a Bronco Mendenhall, when you've got other options like a Colorado, perhaps, for example, if that's really what you want to go and, start pouring concrete on to lay the foundation. Somebody will, obviously. It's not a terrible job by any means, but there's just a lot right now. The no fun part, the academic standards, just a lot that you have to deal with there that you're not having to deal with any of those things in some other places. Although Colorado, of course, the Pac-12 future is still a question mark for them too. But this is going to be a really interesting job because it's so unique. It's very unique and in its own kind of class with what it's dealing with, as opposed to basically all of the others out there right now. Be interesting if it's any of these guys or somebody we're not thinking of. But that's one to definitely just be aware and be mindful of kind of how this unfolds on the Stanford end of things.
Man, I tell you what, That used to be, and I don't know, again, like, all the things you guys were saying, that's a hell of a job. But now with what's going on with the Pac-12.
Do you know who Adam Rittenberg's thrown out there?
No.
Who did I throw out there a couple days ago?
I don't know
Who did I say would be the perfect fit at Stanford?
Dave Aranda.
Dave Aranda.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I just saw Adam Rittenberg throw Dave Aranda out there in the last day or two. I think I said that a couple days ago, and I was just saying that as like he just makes sense. I don't think expectations are as high there. It's really just about football and academics, and from that standpoint, I think he would probably enjoy that more than having to like battle toe-to-toe with Texas and TCU and Oklahoma and all these. Like, you still have to battle with the others as well, but again, the Pac-12 uncertainty makes it different and all of that. But yeah, I saw, I mean, I'm not putting any stock in that, but it was funny to see his name brought up at after thinking about that a couple of days ago. So
yeah.
We'll see. It'll be interesting, like
All
I
right,
said.
we need to all